What's going on YouTube? This is BamsterMax Gaming here with the third and not long overdue video this time, and today I'll be talking about Pokémon Legends ZA. Before we get started though, a couple of things. The first thing, I'm on my knees, I'm begging, I'm pleading. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoy this, comment if you have any thoughts, and subscribe if you'd like to catch any future videos that I upload, any reviews. Dipping back to the comment section, feel free to provide any sort of feedback, or even if you agree or disagree with the video, any points, and I'm more than happy to respond to them as well. The next thing I want to mention is a bit of a disclaimer. So for this game, I paid 45 bucks in total, right? So it was part of a trade-in. I didn't get any sort of promo code. I traded in two games. One I paid $30 for, the other one I paid $15 for. I wasn't playing them anymore. If you want to know the retail outlet that does this deal, it's Flayfley Wi-Fi. It rhymes with that. Just don't tell them I told you. Nonetheless, I did the trade-in, picked the game up for 45 bucks. So I figured it's only right for me to say that because you're going to hear a couple of perspectives. One of what I paid for total outlay. The other for its ticket price of $99, or it ranges between $99 to $109 here in Australia. And then for the target audience, so in this case, children. So we'll get started. We'll talk about the things I like first and foremost. It's not a massive list, but I think it's a fairly important list for the type of game that this is. So the battle mechanics, I really like it. It's an interesting new direction that Gamefreak is taking Pokemon. And I do like the fact that they treat the Legends series is a bit of a crash test dummy for different aspects and mechanics that they'd like to add to their main titles. So this mechanic being more of an action RPG is really welcome. I think it's cool. It harkens to Xenoblade Chronicles. And you know, if I dip into my member berries even more, even though it's not that far long ago that I played the game, at least the Zodiac Age, Final Fantasy XII, I have a lot of similarities between this when it comes to the countdowns between actions. So this game is pretty nifty with its battle mechanic. Whilst I do enjoy it, and I think it's a really cool direction the game is heading in, I do have to say that I think Game Freak do need to work on it a little bit more. They need to find a way to balance and mitigate the issues that arise with the lack of an opportunity cost. So what I mean by that is in traditional Pokemon, it's turn-based. Heck, let's use Octopath Traveler, one of my favorites. Turn-based game, right? So you have to make a choice. The opportunity cost will be all the other actions that you could have conducted at that particular turn that you sacrificed in order to make the choice that you made. And Pokémon Legends ZA sort of does away with that, and I don't know if the game benefits from it. I just have a feeling and a fear that people are going to like build out a meta where they just get fast, like moderately fast, moderate damage dealing attacks, and build their techniques out with those, like the technique pool, so the four techniques that you can use with those sorts of attacks, and just mash buttons and win by attrition. And I think the mechanic is cool because it does open up that pathway to be able to stack like nerfs and debuffs, and also buffs as well. I think for the next title, if they carry on with this battle mechanic, it would be cool to lock it so you only have 2 damage dealing attacks, because you don't have PP in this, so you don't have to worry about the number of times you can use an attack running out and being depleted. But if you lock it to 2 support techniques and then 2 attack techniques, that would build out your ability to sort of lock in that variety by way of having buffs, debuffs, so on and so forth. Fill out the technique pools for Pokemon within this game. I just feel the meta will be button mashing, if there is a meta for this game, that is. It'll just be button mashing with moderate damage dealing attacks that recharge quickly. And I think that sort of just ruins the spirit of the mechanic and how it's supposed to be used. So I do think that they need to sharpen that up, but in all, it's cool. Another thing I don't mind about this game, I do enjoy, is it's fairly relaxing, and the soundtrack adds to that. It's just good background music. It's not G'ing you up or anything like that. It's very inoffensive. It is just like you're walking through a theme park is probably the best way to describe it. A theme park generally will have inoffensive music playing in the background because it just allows you to focus on other stuff. And Pokémon Legends ZA soundtrack, like the inoffensive. It's easy to listen to. You can listen to it for 4 hours straight and just have your brain turned off while you battle Pokemon and catch it. And that's cool. I think that is largely where this game's good points are going to stop, and they'll probably drift into the negatives, if not just sort of, I wish they did such and such points, right? So the first most glaring I wish they did such and such is the lack of texture on all of the surfaces outside of like those mega rock things. Beat 'em Ups has talked about this, but if you see how I'm angled here, you can see the buildings are just like polygons, really just rectangular prisms for the most part, and they have a wallpaper on them, and it makes everything look super flat. The same thing happened on that roof. The roof tiles had no texture to them as well, and the cobblestones here on this street, no texture. And I know that they did a better job in Scarlet and Violet, and Scarlet and Violet are 3 years old now, so there isn't really all that much of an excuse for not, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's disappointing. It really is disappointing that they didn't do that. There must be a logistical reason as to why, but I guarantee you that, logistics aside, you could have worked around this by having a load screen and just putting in more texture here and there, and not having like an asset be on the other side of the map and still be there while, even though you're nowhere near it on the actual map itself. It's just bland. That's the best way to put it. The other thing that's an issue is because there is, I believe it'll be a saving of processing power to allow the map to be running at all times. It's just barren. There's nothing going on. Look at all the people. This is supposed to be Lumios, the Paris of the Pokemon world. And look, I've watched people in Paris do some dastardly stuff. I've watched people rip tourists off with the Bowl and Cup game. I've watched a poor homeless lady treat the middle of a street as a toilet. And I feel really bad for her, but nonetheless, none of that, not even a microcosm of that, has made its way into Lumio City, where it's supposed to be a representation of Paris. And as such, the game feels like you're walking through a mannequin challenge, but without Ray Shremmerd playing in the background. And that's a shame. That is a shame, because that is entirely possible. The city looks flat, it's dead, and the wild zones don't fare much better. There are barely any Pokemon in the wild zones. There's barely any space in the wild zones to begin with. It would be more interesting if they just had like alleyways as well as the wild zones, with more wild Pokemon in them that might be tougher than in the wild zones. Something along those lines. Just something that breathes some life into this game. And if you look at the NPCs here, like I said, it's like the mannequin challenge. So it's just barren. And that's a shame. Again. Another thing that I don't particularly like about the game is it feels like Far Cry 3 without Vaas. And what I mean by that is there's nothing. It's just fetch quests. The content of the game, like there's an overarching story. I'm midway through it. I'm up to Ivor. But every promotion round for the battles, that is, like the gym trainer aspect of it, it just feels like a fetch quest. Every time you have a rogue mega evolution, fetch quest. And Pokemon hasn't really been much of a fetch quest sort of game, if that makes sense. And I don't think it works well as a fetch quest game. Far Cry 3 didn't work well as a fetch quest game. Don't do fetch quest games. That's the long story short here. You can be more creative with your storyline. So that's disappointing, really disappointing. And yeah, it's just like, look, I can play this game, zone out, relax, train, do all that jazz. That's fine. But like, there's a point where fetch quests just get boring, and it's more boring than grinding, because at least with grinding, there's an end game. You're going to have really strong characters or Pokemon, so on and so forth. And you can try new things, try new ways in which you engage in battling as well as you grind. Fetch quests don't really allow for that. It's just really bland. They don't really build much to the story. They don't give you that euphoria of being able to get a new level or an evolution. It's just not cool. I don't really vibe with fetch quests. So that's a huge downer for this game, I think anyways. So I guess we get to how I score this game. And I'm going to give 3 scores. Like I said before, I'd be looking at this through the lens of someone that paid $45 for it. Reviewing through the lens of someone that will be paying full sticker price. And then the same thing for someone who is the target audience of this game by Gamefreak. I was almost about to Freudian slip and run with a masterpiece, but it's not really a masterpiece per se. I think that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are closer, much closer to being masterpieces. Those were amazing games. This, not so much. So, $45. I give this a 7.5. B grade. It's just the battle mechanics are interesting. The music's pretty cool. It is a game that you can sit down and play, and it's not going to be so bad that you won't pick it up and play it. It's just, there isn't all that much. It's good to grind and turn your mind off and catch Pokemon and all that stuff. But if you're looking for something engaging as far as the storyline is concerned, engaging as far as characters, engaging as far as mechanics, gameplay, graphics, so on and so forth, this just isn't the title for you. But at $45, this is kind of what you expect to get. For full sticker price of at least $99, going up to $109 here in Australia, that is, 5.5. It's just barely passing. Hate to be negative about it, but it is. Like, there's a lot of issues. The fact that the city is barren, if it's a game of fetch quests, the fact that the graphics look like it's a phone-in, they all will bring them down. It really only has a passing grade because of the battle mechanics being an interesting new direction that Gamefreak is taking this format, and the music's inoffensive. And you can sit down and play it for ages and turn your mind off and sort of suspend a bit of disbelief. So for that, it just passes. For the target audience though, like for kids, and I'm thinking like kids that are just getting into Pokemon, for example, this is an 8. It's an 8. Even at full sticker price, they're going to enjoy it. They're going to love it. Noting that they have different tastes and expectations for a game than an adult would. So, yeah, it's an 8. It passes. I think they'll enjoy the fact that they get to engage in that escapism and walk through the streets of Lumiose. They'll suspend their disbelief a lot more because they haven't been jilted by TV and social media like I have. And they'll enjoy it. That being said, I mean, it's definitely worth picking it up. Just try and pick it up on sale if you can. I don't know if it'll ever be, so you'll probably be picking it up secondhand. But crack it on and have a go and play it. You might have different expectations from a game and different tastes, so you'll probably enjoy it. I just didn't happen to enjoy it. And I have a couple of things to qualify why I scored it lower than I normally would a game like this. So when you do get it, or any game you get, just pop them on, pick your controller up, get really cozy, and just think about Bands to Max games when you're mashing buttons, or at least having fun. Until the next video though, guys, be easy, be safe, like I said earlier, minus the thinking about Bands to Max games. Just pick up a controller, mash some buttons, have some fun and enjoy what is the last few months of the year. I'll see you all for the next video. Be easy, be safe once again. Bye-bye.